Greetings, everyone. Glenn Kellaway from the basement. I hope everyone is having a nice day. Happy Father's Day to all the dads out there and granddads. Um, in honor of Father's Day, I'm going to do a Zeppelin video. What the hell that has to do with fathers, but um, this was inspired by my friend Jack, whose channel is called Jack the Music Guy. Jack is just a young man, 17 years old, really getting into the whole classic rock thing, and he just did his review of his ranking the Zeppelin albums. Um, Jack's kind of still, still a bit unpolished. He's getting there, but give him a chance. He's going to be a great VC member, and we have a future there with guys like that who are really digging this music. And I have a prediction. I predict that in 50 years, write this down in your calendar, that would be 2073, Jack will be considered the new Norman Maslov. He'll be the Mazzy of 2073. I hope I'm around to see if I'm correct. Zeppelin. I'm going to rank the Zeppelin albums. I am going to tell you what is the best and worst track off of each album. So let's get started with the worst one. I'm leaving Coda out. I don't care about Coda. The worst one for me is the one they put in a brown paper bag. I think they did that on purpose just because they were embarrassed. In Through the Outdoor. Now, I think this album totally proves that Zeppelin was out of steam. Even if Mr. Bonham hadn't have died tragically, I don't know how much longer they could have stayed on top. I think they were starting to show signs. Their shelf date, I think, was done. What a career, what a span of albums, but I think it was over. Next. Chris Prophy's not going to like me. Houses of the Holy. Never been a favorite of mine. I forgot to say what are my best and worst tracks off of In Through the Outdoor. My favorite track on here is Hot Dog. I know it's just a great fun song, great rocker. I love it. And the worst song on here, among many, The Hook. I picked The Hook, and I just threw them in a hat, really. I have no reason other than that. That's my choices for In Through the Outdoor. Houses of the Holy. Never really got this album. I think this is definitely the weakest. Like In Through the Outdoor, I just consider from Houses of the Holy up, they're all at least, you could make an argument for how you rank them. But this one is still weak for me. And my favorite track is Over the Hills and Far Away. And the worst track, and my least favorite Zeppelin track of all time, is The Crunge. The vocal that Robert Plant does in that, I don't dig that at all. Next, an album that I really like. Jack didn't like this one too much, but I think it's a great frickin' record. Is Presence. This is a heavy guitar album, which I love. Best track on this album is the opening track, Achilles' Last Stand. That probably would be in my top 5 Zeppelin songs of all time. And I picked the track Royal Orleans as my least favorite track. There are some weak tracks on this album, but the tracks that are strong are really strong, so it brings that album up. Next on the list would be another great record, but kind of considered their acoustic album. It was really Led Zeppelin 3. It was really a bit of a turn musically for them from the first 2 albums, which were really, heavy rock blues albums. This one, more acoustic instruments, and love this album. It's great. Love the spinning wheel on the original vinyl, and I really think this is an original vinyl I have here too. I wonder if it's an RL. Wouldn't that be something? Don't know. Anyway, Zeppelin 3 has One of my top 5 Zeppelin songs is the best song on the album, Since I've Been Loving You. What a great blues song, just scorching. And the worst song on the album, Out on the Tiles. Out of the Tiles. Why did I pick that? Because I haven't listened to this album for a while, and I was going out, I can't even remember what Out of the Tiles sounds like. So to me, it just seems like it must be really forgettable. Led Zeppelin 2 would be my third favorite Zeppelin album. Love this album. So I got to see Led Zeppelin in 1969 at the O'Keefe Center in Toronto. Let me see if I can... There's the original flyer from 1969 for the album, Led Zeppelin. Yeah, O'Keefe Center holds about 2,500 people. They weren't they were just starting to get huge. The first album had been out, and the second album was just coming out. My memory served me if it came out just before they played, it was November 2nd, or just after they played, but very close, the release of that album. And they played some songs on it which I wasn't familiar. They played Whole Lot of Love, and they did Moby Dick. I remember Bonham doing that whole thing with the hands, and it was a great show. Led Zeppelin, when Jimmy Page, they did with the violin, and he was going, doo-doo. I may or may not have been on a chemical substance at the time, and I swear to God, lightning bolts were coming out of that bow, and he was going, doo-doo. Oh, friggin' incredible. So anyway, Zeppelin 3, Since I've Been Loving You, or Zeppelin 2, duh. What Is and What Shall Never Be is my favorite song on this album. I love the stereo effects at the end when it goes, dun-dun, 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 dun, and it goes back and forth from the speakers. And try and figure out a pattern for when it changes. It's impossible. There's no mixed set pattern for that. It always drives me nuts, but great record. My least favorite, I picked Moby Dick. I like Moby Dick. I like this whole album. So now it's really hard to pick a bad song. My second or third favorite, that was number 4. My third favorite Zeppelin album, 4. This is probably the album that if you're, for a newbie, if you're saying check out a Zeppelin album, 4 would probably be number 1. I pick a more obscure song as my favorite because I love it. It's Battle of Evermore. That's my favorite, one of my favorite Zeppelin songs. Again, probably top 5. I think I'm giving you all my top 5 Zeppelin songs. I picked Misty Mountain Hop as my least favorite, although I love this whole album. So I had to pick something. Okay, number 2. Number 2 and number 1 are like 1A and 1B to me. I picked the debut number 2. Now, I got to tell you, I walked into a record store in 1969 when this album was released, and I see this at the front of the new release section, and I was immediately drawn to the cover, the name Led Zeppelin, turning over the back and seeing these guys, because in that time, I mean, they just looked so freaking cool, and I had no idea who these guys were. Jimmy Page probably heard the name from the Yardbirds, but this was purchased by me when it came out, having not heard a note, having not known anything about this band, and I brought this album home and put it on, and when you hear that opening track of Good Times, Bad Times, in the days of my youth, man, that was it, man. I gotta tell the story. So I was pretty much the first guy in my block to own this album, and I'm playing the crap out of it. And one of my high school friends, he asked if he could borrow it overnight. And in those days, I don't know why I wouldn't lend an album out to my best friend now, because I don't want them to get scratched. But I lent him the album. And then the next day, he got my album. Oh, I forgot it. Next day, got my album. Oh man, sorry, I forgot it again. This went on for like a week. And now I'm getting pissed. I walk over his house on a Saturday afternoon. I still remember this. I knock on his door, and I'm going to get my album back. He's not home. His sister answers the door, and what do I hear in the background? They're playing my Led Zeppelin album. So I said, that's my record there. Your brother borrowed it off me, and I want it back. I need it right now. So they had to take it off the turntable and give it back to me. Right then. Anyway, my number one. Drum roll. Oh, I didn't pick my songs. Number one. How Many More Times, which is also my second favorite Zeppelin song. And, well, I don't know if I like the song I picked. Wow, I picked Your Time Is Gonna Come but I really like that song. I think it's got to be Black Mountainside, although I think that's really integral to the album. Really hard to pick a song off of this that's bad. Every note of this album is incredible. I'm going to go with Black Mountainside. Sorry, Jimmy. Yeah, it's a great guitar song. Physical Graffiti is number one for me. What a package, too, eh? Bear with me. It's on the floor. I love the whole insert thing, and then you put the album inside it, and it's amazing. And when this first came out, it was not my favorite Zeppelin album. Zeppelin 1 and 2 probably would have been ranked ahead of it, but over time, I just think it's amazing. My favorite Zeppelin song of all time is on there, Kashmir, number one. It does have a couple of weak tracks, and I picked Down by the Seaside as the weak track on the album. That's my ranking. I hope everyone has a great Father's Day, and please subscribe to Jack the Music Guy, all one word, but capital letters on each of the words as it's all squeezed together. Jack the Music Guy. I'll put a thing underneath, but give him some love, and we'll talk soon.